Here's a question about Warrington from Chris, and this will lead into Leeds Rhinos 24, Warrington 22, which you may have watched in our league, or you may have watched in person, because 15,166 people put them through this.
Which is a great crowd when you consider neither team has got form on the board.
It did look good crowd, and and one of the arguments about this our league is that going to deter people from going? Well, no.
I think in the future, are they announcing games so it doesn't stop people going? Or they just announce them late because they don't know what they're doing. That would be my question. I know that sounds like it's an either or, but
I think
it's
somewhere
in the middle.
And I think there might be some judicious timing about when they announce it, just to make sure that there are people still going to go. But there was a very healthy collection of Warrington fans behind the post.
I mean, they took plenty to Wakefield the other week, and that's when they're in.
And I think they wanted to go to see if the Sam Burgess effect had made any difference.
James asked Chris, because you're in charge of this thing, any changes likely in future to review forward passes of tries? Warrington have suffered missed calls against Saints and Leeds in recent losses, asking for a friend, winking smiley. Why are unlucky against Leeds? Definitely a forward pass from Caesar, says Kevin. And Carson adds, and that Duffy was playing didn't help you too. Oh, Carson. It's insane, says Ian, that they won't video referee on forward passes. There's literally lines on the pitch to accurately check it.
That's the whole point. That doesn't tell you anything. The lines on the pitch don't tell you anything. Go on. We've talked about this before. Go on YouTube and put in forward passes, and there's a great video. Unfortunately, it's by Rugby Union. I think it's the IRB. But there's a great video on there that shows. It talks about momentum.
Steve-O, if you throw Steve-O off a train, and
there isn't such thing as a momentum rule as such, but momentum exists in
science.
In science, it exists in the world. But you can basically pass on a line, pass the ball backwards, and it will travel forwards of that line and be received in front of that line. So lines are really irrelevant on a pitch. It's all about whether the ball comes out of the hands backwards or forwards, and that's the crux of the decision. And the NRL in the past have reviewed forward passes, and they determined it wasn't working, so they stopped doing it.
It's also about the camera angle.
Yeah,
because again, to determine with a camera if a pass has gone forward, the camera has to be almost on the passer.
Yeah.
But if it's behind it or above it or to the side of it, you cannot definitively say
and that's
that a ball has gone forward.
Agree, and that's the same for the match officials. That ideally, the match officials need to be banging line. Now, on that one, Ben is ahead of the pass, and the touch judges are probably slightly behind the pass, I suspect. So no one, I guess, I haven't looked at, I've only seen it on Twitter or whatever. I'm guessing there's probably no one absolutely banging line with that pass. You have to make a judgment call. And it looks maybe slightly forward, if I'm being honest, but that's based on that one camera angle. And as we've seen before on Sky, you can watch the same try from different angles, and you think, maybe not.
You always love that third replay on the big screen where it shows it was forward, and everyone goes, whoa!
Yeah. I'd also say that what Warrington should be looking at is why they allowed Aidan Caesar to get into that gap in the first place.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that people...
Defensively, they misread that play.
If that pass has gone forward... I mean, I saw a tweet from a journalist saying it was a mile forward. Well, it's clearly not a mile. If it has
literally a mile forward.
If it is forward and it's passed forward out the hands, it's marginal, I would say. It drifts, maybe. But let's for argument's sake, say it is forward. That's not the reason why they scored the try.
No.
If he's passed it back another 6 inches, they still score the try.
Yeah.
So it goes back to your point. It still has to be defended. I'm not trying to defend the match officials there. If it's a mistake, it's a mistake. But that doesn't deny the opportunity for the defensive side to stop a try from being scored. And the same person's probably not asking the question about Duffy and what happened towards the end.
And that ultimately was the determining factor in who won.
Well, there'll always be moments in games.
And again, should Duffy have taken it? Probably.
Yeah, I've not seen it, but...
Leeds played a get out of jail free card, and on a number of occasions this year they've been on the wrong side of that ledger. They got one back yesterday. Warrington were improved on the Warrington that we've seen over the last 7 defeats, which Gary Chambers kept stressing that it's all about standards, and the standards were higher this week than they'd been in previous weeks, which is what they're trying to instill, that the way they played yesterday is now the minimum rather than what they've been doing the previous couple of months. And Leeds did enough in their scramble in defence, and clearly the goal kicking of Reece Martin to ensure that they came out on the right side of the ledger. And it was a game that very much summed up Super League this year. It wasn't full of quality, but you couldn't take your eyes off it. It was gripping till the very end.
That's what I was saying.
And there were some moments of really high skill. Drinkwater's kick for Nicholson was fantastic. You didn't see that kick until you realised what had happened. It was brilliantly, as he went into contact, he got the ball away. McDonald's pass will go viral because it was sensational. Harry Newman was back for Leeds, which is a major boost for them. In terms of a spectacle, you'd have paid $6.95 to watch it.
Or a tenner on the day, as Kevin and Chris did. Some are obvious forward passes, and for tries you need to at least review. But then, are we going down the road of reviewing everything like they do with the bunker when we don't have a bunker?
There are occasions when there are passes that are clearly forward, and I'm not denying that. And you as a referee, when you review the game, you think, oh God, yeah, I wish I had that opportunity to review it, but if there was that opportunity, you wouldn't clear it up because it would still split opinion.
And the other thing about that game was in the first half, Danny Walker dropped the ball cold when he was clear and could have been over the line, and Cameron Smith made a superb covering tackle on Josh Thewlis that could have put Warrington 2 scores up. Now, in both of those occasions, Warrington couldn't capitalise, so the forward pass then becomes less relevant. But
do we just have to go back to a mentality of things happen, and they just happen, and we can't legislate for everything?
The other thing as well is I always look at the team that has been affected by the decision to gauge their reaction. Not one Warrington player complained that it was a forward pass, which I always take as like if they genuinely thought that was so far forward it needed to, a protestation to the referee which wouldn't have changed anything. They would have at least, their captain would have gone up and asked the question, but nobody queried it.
Yeah.
Have we done an hour? We've only talked about one of the big games.
You said it wouldn't be as long this week.
No, I talk about celebrities too much. Is there anything else coming out of Leeds Warrington rather?
No.
Other
than Leeds are back in the playoff picture, which now looks really congested.
Which is brilliant, isn't it? Because they'll end up winning the grand final.
But I think I saw something again on social media. Something like Warrington have lost 10 out of the last 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've lost 8 in a row, haven't they?
But are still 5th, are they?
Yeah.
I mean that's insane.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Which again,
well, 4 points clear, I think, were they at the time at top
told
of
you
the table.
about the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. But one of the arguments is, well, how can you possibly have a team that's lost 10 out of the last 11 still potentially qualifying in the top 6 and potentially winning the grand final?
Well, potentially is the interesting word because they are in danger of dropping out this week.
Yeah.
If they don't win.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go down to Leeds, is it? I don't know who's towards the bottom that's still
Leeds
within chance.
Hull.
Yeah, Leeds and Hull.
And possibly Huddersfield if they beat Leeds this week.
I just the argument would be sort of devalues the competition, but I can't envisage that those teams, even if they make the top 6, will make the grand final. They're too inconsistent.
The other thing about that is that's exactly what we want to sell the sport.
Not every season can be great, can
because now Sky are saying there's something riding on every game each weekend.
Yeah,
which is fantastic.
And that's what you want. You want the prospect of qualifying for a playoff. Yeah. No one knows them.
On what I saw last week, neither Warrington or Leeds are good enough to win the grand final.
No.
I know you can't compare things to football because it's daft to do so, but there have been many Premier League seasons that have been rubbish. But just because people watch it, then it's But it's the best league in the world, apart from Germany now, where Harry Kane's gone to, which is the best league according to Sky because they've got the rights to it as well, which is good news. Carson, just spot anyone in Germany. I think in Switzerland, I don't know if that'll be a thing as well. 8 in a row, 10 out of the last 11, because teams under us keep losing, says Kevin. That's where they're still where they are.